and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy episode 310 for the week of May 23rd, 2017. My name's Ryan Higgins, who's here with me this week.
Brock Seger, who didn't have to remind you what episode number it was. Good job.
I know how to read.
And Charlie.
And we have a very special guest down at the end of the table who's here with us.
Clint Cronin.
Clinton, how are you?
Doing very well, man. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you back. For people that don't know, he's a ruggedly handsome jock that should be beating up nerds like us, but for some reason he isn't, and I'm very confused. He also is probably a bigger nerd than all of us combined, which is maybe quite the scarier fact.
It's true, Ryan. I'm not cool at all.
No. Don't tell me that. No, you're super cool. It's all right. Why don't you remind, because you were on an episode a long time ago, but ever since you did that episode, the podcast bug bit you.
It did.
And you are now like a literal professional podcaster that you make our little dog and pony show look like a joke. So why don't you tell everyone who you are, what you do, and how that all happened?
Well, I'm Clint Cronin. I'm a lifelong computer guy, comic book fan, and martial arts fan also. So I am a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and I was in the tech world for about 17 years. I was a Linux systems engineer and engineering manager and all that stuff. It was great until it wasn't, and it just wasn't much fun anymore. We had the Secret Origin episode that I came on and stumbled through here, and
but that was kind of before your more recent. This is your new Secret Origin.
Yeah, this is the retcon one. This is the Rebirth, right?
Yeah, Clint's Rebirth Secret Origin.
Well,
Jesus, that.
As long as it's in Civil War II, what was that? Was that a car or a truck?
No, that's
a jet.
No, it's one of the military planes.
Yeah.
The helicarrier or whatever.
No,
yeah. Shield helicarriers coming in.
I thought they closed Moffat.
Exactly. No, it's still there, and the flat Earth guys haven't got it yet. So, anyway, I'm doing the podcast thing now. I basically just train jiu-jitsu, teach other people jiu-jitsu, and just talk about it. Go around meeting new people and seeing how martial arts have sort of improved their own lives and confidence and all that sort of thing. So it's been a cool last 18 months, I think, since the last time I was here. I really just kind of wanted to see how this stuff all worked, and once I kind of figured it out, it took another 18 months to actually figure it out. Because I thought I knew all this stuff, like, it's just some mics and this, that, and the other thing. And I thought, well, I probably need video too. You probably don't at first.
No, you went so you're kind of downplaying yourself here a little bit. I mean, what's the podcast name?
The Clint Cronin Show.
There you go.
It's so weird naming it that, but this is due to a total lack of creativity and not narcissism.
No, it's a brand, man.
But that's so weird. I'm not a brand.
That's what I mean.
A dude.
You set up like your own like fairly professional podcast studio, right? Now that you made, you do video, you edit all the video, you have like legit celebrities from everything from MMA and wrestling and jiu-jitsu and different martial arts. Names people know on your podcast. You go to LA and Vegas and you're interviewing people all the time. Like tell some people who might know some of these people.
So I've had guys like Hoist Gracie, who is the person that brought jiu-jitsu and MMA really to the United States. So he was the first UFC champion. Henner is one of his nephews, I believe, Henner Gracie, the guy Art Davie that is the founder of the UFC. I had Maxima, who is Eve Torres Gracie, so Maxima from the Supergirl series. I've had her on.
Yeah.
Her husband Henner, just mentioned before. Tate Fletcher, who's been in a whole bunch of movies. He was in The Ultimate Fighter, but he's been in stuff like John Wick. He was in that. He's been in some Marvel stuff as sort of an extra or a stuntman, but he's been in a bunch of stuff. Lots of people. I don't know. I've just been sort of on the road a lot lately, sort of road tripping and filling the back of the car with all the podcast gear, the Zoom recorder, all the mics and cameras and stuff, and just sort of getting out there and meeting people and seeing how getting into martial arts, getting into jiu-jitsu is improving people's lives, physically, but also they're even showing now it's like helping with PTSD and that sort of thing, with depression, getting out there and being part of a community and the weight loss, being able to, handle yourself in a self-defense situation, protect your family, that sort of thing. But just you made it sound like, why am I sort of not beating up nerds or whatever? Like it's because
I'm joking.
No, I mean the real thing is because I was one, and that it sort of empowered me to sort of not think of it as us and them, and just think that we're all sort of the same. We're all just into different stuff, and by having this jiu-jitsu community where like it's every race, religion, political, whatever, all that stuff's gone when we're on the mat. So it's a thing that sort of unites people and kind of empowers them to, be themselves and to feel good about that.
Yeah.
I think Ryan was just traumatized as a child by people that like were a little bit bigger and bulkier.
No, you know what? I feel like I maybe mentioned this once or twice. I had that rare high school and middle school life where no one bothered me. I'm not tall. I'm not like Charlie tall or anything like that. But I was taller than most people very fast. So I hit 6 feet very early, and I never grew again. So maybe that offset people picking on me, but I like literally never got into a fight. No one stole my lunch money.
You know that GIF that keeps popping up with Homer Simpson like just shrinking into the shrubbery? Like that's you in high school. You just disappeared into whatever was around.
Did I?
Yeah.
Do you remember me in high school?
Yeah.
Do you remember, like, my real early goth phases?
Oh, yeah.
I did not disappear into anything.
No, you stood out like a sore thumb, but you sat in those hallways and just became part of the lockers.
I guess. Nobody ever messed with me.
People just walked around. I
guess.
It was like there was caution, wet floor here.
I don't know.
For as outspoken,
everybody just kept their distance.
Maybe.
For as outspoken and as loud as some of your tweets are, I'm like, it's kind of hard to believe you're fading into the background. But.
He relies on people like
I'm a big man on the internet.
He relies on people like me and Charlie and you and all the people he knows that are big to back him up.
So he's like the bully of the cloud. Like you're the new bully. It's not me.
Internet bullies are fucking the worst.
Oh, you guys make me so sad. I get a lot of really great emails and great messages and stuff about my show and the training and when I do horribly bad in competition or something, but I get a lot of positive stuff, but some of the negative stuff is just mean, either towards me or guests and stuff like that.
You can't avoid it.
I want to read and respond to stuff and be like, oh, cool, a message, and a lot of them will be really cool, and others will be like, wow, what a jerk. People say awful stuff.
No, there's been a lot of blowback. I mean, obviously, being off on the internet's not a new thing, but specifically the last few months, there's been some severe blowback from people that are just taking it way over the line. We're actually going to talk about this here in a little bit. I don't want to get into the Zack Snyder stuff yet, but yeah, no one ever really bugged me in school. It's just a weird.
I
feel like I missed something. I missed that high school experience, but I guess it's great because I didn't end up with any sort of weird trauma from it or something. So
yeah, that stuff's real.
Charlie, you probably. I mean, you're one of us, but you've always been super
Charlie
tall,
had
so.
body hair in elementary school. What are you talking about?
I was gonna say, yeah, no one probably picked on you.
No, I was very, very tall, very, very thin, and
I've seen those pictures. You're a styling dude, man.
There were a few times in my life where I would butt heads with somebody, but they were always much older than I was.
I could see that.
I can get the smaller one. Oh, wait, he bites back.
I could see people thinking you were like in your mid-20s when you were like 14 or something like that. Just not that you look old, just you look older than you are.
Those are Charlie's dark years we don't talk about when he would go to the bars and drink and he was a completely different human being.
Didn't even get carded.
No, the very few times when somebody tried to bully me, it did not end well for either one of us, but still.
No, it's
that's that awkward fighting,
Yeah, all of it's awkward. It's just no good. Those high school years are just awkward for everybody. No one's happy. Everybody's confused as hell, and the worst ones are usually the ones that shouldn't be doing anything at all. But jiu-jitsu for that. It's for people that are they got kids that are worried about bullying and stuff like that. Empower them. Build confidence, and at least so they know how to defend themselves. If at bare minimum, they're not going to get hurt as badly. So
I mean, I've never been in a fight in my life. I've broken up plenty of fights.
Oh, because you used to bounce, right?
I used to bounce. I was a bouncer for 8 years. And, you learn little things here and there from the guys you work with and stuff like that. I mean, in working with special needs kids, they train you with what they used to call handle with care. And so it's like holds and chokes and stuff that you're not choking them, you're holding them in that position, and then you're bringing them down to calm them down, and it's more for the safety of you know, the person that you're holding and yourself. Because I've gotten slight concussions from being head-butted backwards.
Oh, sure.
From an autistic child. So it's, yeah, I mean, there's no perfect way to do it.
Yeah.
It's just sort of being able to adapt and, you know, like you said, like be able to protect them on the way down or whatever, if that's what's happening. But yeah.
Yeah, because it's not about, you know, the karate and martial arts and jiu-jitsu and all that stuff. It's not about kicking the crap out of the person.
No.
It's about, you know, deflecting and defending and stopping what's going on.
Yeah, just being able to live to do whatever another day, just preservation of life. That's it.
Yeah.
So the Clint Cronin Show, iTunes, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's iTunes. It's on
YouTube.
It's
you
on
got
YouTube.
the video stuff.
Yeah, I release a lot of stuff on YouTube as well. Technique videos, things like that. Some shorter stuff. The full length audio episodes are there, but video, like you said, I edit it myself, so it does take a little bit of time with Final Cut Pro. So those usually come out a little bit delayed, but weekly content every week.
Yeah, that's awesome. So go check him out.
Do you have a Patreon?
I signed up for one. I've never plugged it. I have, the hell is it? I think it's amazon.clintcronin.com if you want to contribute that way. You can buy your stuff on Amazon and,
Cool.
I get a kickback or something for the show.
Yeah. Awesome. You should do that. All right, we're going to talk a few, very light news week, but we were going to talk about the Flash and Batman button crossover. And Clinton, I know you wanted to talk about just some of the Rebirth stuff in general, since we have an idea on you're a big DC fan. So let's hit up a few of these. First, the Black Lightning trailer for CW came out last week, and we rewatched it. You guys hadn't, I think, Clint, you just hadn't seen it before.
Yep.
I had no idea what to expect for the show. Obviously, the show's not out yet. We only have the trailer. I was pretty like, well, okay, another show. That's a fifth fucking show on CW by Berlanti.
I'm only watching 2, so
like we're starting to hit like we're starting to hit kind of like
if they start alternating, like this is the one when the other ones are off, I'm good.
Well,
even
that's
with that,
what Black Lightning's supposed to.
Okay, good.
Right,
like
but even with that, it's just nonstop.
Yeah.
Stuff. So I was like, wow, Black Lightning, how good could this
Go
be?
from Flash Lightning to Black Lightning.
I don't know about the rest of you guys, but maybe just because my expectations weren't super high, but man, I was really blown away by that Black Lightning trailer.
Yeah.
I was very impressed by it.
I think assuming that it's your typical sort of mid-season, shorter sort of episode count, I think that show could be amazing.
Yeah, go ahead.
How many episodes are they going for with this one?
I don't think they've announced yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
iZombie runs 13.
Something like that.
iZombie doesn't have long seasons, so it wouldn't surprise me if it hits that same time slot.
Yeah.
The basic setup in the trailer, and again, not really spoilers for anything. There's nothing to really spoil. Black Lightning in his regular identity.
Jackson.
Blanking on his name. Wow.
I should know it because I'm an Outsiders fan,
name?
but I don't. Isn't it Jackson something?
I'm like completely blanking on his name. Jefferson Pierce. Sorry.
Jefferson Pierce.
I
got the one letter right.
He was a former superhero turned in the show turned
principal,
high school principal, and he's being brought back into the fold because of this gang. And
we don't know the actual trigger, but something triggers it where he gets back in costume.
It sounds like it's because of like this one particular gang is really starting to take over the town, and so he's brought back because of that. But I feel like his daughters, Thunder and Lightning, from the Outsiders comics and from the the kind of post-crisis pre-Rebirth books, I don't think they've shown up since. I actually feel like they may be more the main characters in the show than Black Lightning, at least within the context of the trailer. They're the ones doing the narrative, and it feels like their story about him, which I think is a great way to go about it, because it does get, it's a little, you get that teenage kind of viewpoint of the superhero, whereas all the rest of the CW shows are very much told from the main character's point of view.
So because he's a retired superhero coming out of retirement, his daughters, and it looked like a lot of the narrative was focused around that school, him being the principal, them being about, maybe like senior in high school age.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility possibility with timelines to sort of have that outsider stuff crossover with Gotham at some point, or?
I don't know. I know because
between networks.
Well, Gotham's its own thing, and they said that this is not connected to the Arrowverse stuff, at least currently. But
Supergirl wasn't connected,
right?
So we saw on that last.
From what I read, they don't really have any plan to cross it into the Arrowverse stuff, but they didn't also sort of peg it on this is Earth. Blanket.
Yeah, so they haven't labeled it yet.
Yeah, they didn't say that, but they did say that it's not.
Yeah,
it's not connected. So.
The way I look at it is, I think they're as a mid-season show. I think they just want to see how the first season does, and then they'll decide if they're going to.
If it gets picked up again, where can we go with this? Because that's the thing is we want to see if the Black Lightning show has legs of its own, and if it has legs of its own, then that's great. And adding in Flash or Arrow or Supergirl.
But I feel like this is coming from a different spot. I don't think you need that.
If you really think about it at this point, so you have the main shows with sort of Flash, Supergirl, Arrow, Legends. You have the animated Vixen stuff. They have the animated Constantine stuff they announced. They have the Titan show that is supposed to be on the streaming service. Mm-hmm. I mean,
Black Lightning could be its own thing.
Yeah.
Just like Gotham, just like...
I mean, even if the show doesn't take off, you have the ability with the new DC streaming service to take those characters and roll them maybe into the Arrowverse later if the show as a whole thing doesn't take off.
Sure, if they want, yeah. Well, remember, too, Constantine was its own thing, right?
Yeah,
and they were
NBC.
like, let's just bring them over.
Yeah. And then there was that great jab at NBC with the peacock feather.
So, God knows I'm horribly behind on all the shows right now. Flash finale's tonight, and I'm like 3 episodes back. So
I'm caught up with Flash, and you're
God
not.
knows when I'm going to have a chance to catch up. But Charlie, we can't multitask the way you do. We don't have robot brains that can process 7 different things at the same time. I can barely process one. So,
and that's Heroes of the Storm at the moment?
It's Heroes of the Storm and Twin Peaks right now. That is my life.
Why are you playing Heroes of the Storm right now?
I've been playing Heroes of the Storm for the last couple of days, but Twin Peaks is my life right now. I'll focus on everything else when
Twin Peaks talk. You talked about it yesterday.
It'd be like 7 episodes long.
So you're the one comic book podcast that isn't talking about Injustice 2 constantly lately.
We have a question about Injustice 2 later, but none of us have played it.
Okay.
But we will talk about that when we get the question. Spoiler alert, none of us have played it. There you go. Moving on from Black Lightning, but also just keeping within the
when
movie
does that
stuff.
start up?
I don't think they give a date yet.
Did they give a date?
Mid-season's usually...
Yeah, I mean, if it's mid-season next year, it's going to be around this time next year.
Yeah, well, it would have been about a month ago because that's when iZombie popped up.
Yeah.
So,
now, we talk a lot about reviews on this podcast, and especially reviews about Marvel and DC movies. And if Bryce was here, and I'm sure he's yelling at me already...
He's been yelling at you for the past hour.
We like to talk about Rotten Tomatoes and all this stuff. Now... reviews are good. I think reviews have their place. I feel like Rotten Tomatoes does a disservice to the actual review by giving it a binary good or bad, because like we saw with the Guardians of the Galaxy 2, anyone that actually read the reviews and didn't just look at the Rotten Tomatoes score, many of those reviews, while positive, were just barely on this side of positive, but positive enough to get a 100% positive, giving it a very high Rotten Tomato score. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about Guardians of the Galaxy 2. That's not what I'm trying to say here.
No, you've already said enough in the 2.5 hour podcast we had.
However, I feel like Rotten Tomatoes, it does a disservice for movies. That said, obviously people care about these type of things. When Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad came out, before they came out, they had a lot of fan screenings prior that had very positive reviews. When the actual movies came out, they were eviscerated by critics, and while doing very well in the box office, both were huge successes in the box office. Sorry, internet, I don't, I know you want to say they weren't,
that's
but
a success.
They were successful. They were very successful. The overall fan reaction was pretty mediocre at best, and the Marvel movies, I feel, tend to get a little reviewed a little easier. The DC movies, people are a little too harsh on. Clinton, I know you've enjoyed most of the DC stuff too. So
I have, but there's asterisks. I don't know how you pluralize that properly. But yeah,
Asterisks?
Asterisks. There's asterisks. Probably sound stupid right now.
Multiple things.
There are things about each of the movies that I'm not a big fan of. But as a DC fan, I'm glad that they're making them at all.
Yeah.
Even when the GL movie came out, I was happy there was a Green Lantern movie at all. And
again, I think that Green Lantern movie got just way too harshly criticized. I think it is as good as a few of the Marvel movies that were reviewed a lot better.
I'm willing to go ahead and agree with that for the most part.
I'm just going to be quiet.
Like most movies, I just kind of feel like I can sit forever and nitpick, or I can say I enjoyed this about the movie.
Yeah.
So my take on Guardians, there were more jokes. I think they changed Drax's character a bit abruptly from the last movie. I liked it. I thought he knocked it out of the park. I thought he was funny, and as an actor, I was like, oh, Dave Bautista, this guy, you can put him in a lot of action movies or even other stuff.
He's an amazing talent.
He's super charismatic. I enjoyed it. There were Gamora, I didn't really like her comedy thing with the fruit, and so it was really jokey. But if you're going for something lighthearted between other movies that maybe mean a little bit more to the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe, cool. But if you're going for more serious or a darker movie, it's just not going to be the right fit. I didn't have a problem with it, but I get where people are coming from. That the tone sort of changed, and they sort of did the sequel thing where they took the parts that the humor from the last movie that was a selling point. Just just add more. Just
crank it up.
And it was a little bit over the top at some points, but it was cool.
Well, the reason I bring up these reviews is because the embargo lifted for Wonder Woman. Now, while we don't have fully written professional reviews, we do have very early. I think those hit this week, I believe. The movie opens next Thursday. We do have the first kind of Twitter reviews, very, very brief comments from people that have seen the movie. And this is not from just various people, random, normal people that have seen the movie. These are all coming from from professional reviewers. EW collected a bunch of these, but there's a bunch of sites out there where many reviewers have kind of said their piece before the official reviews start coming out. And they are near unanimously positive. Now, some are like, well, it's the best DC movie, which might not mean it's great. For some people, they may be like, well, it's not a high bar to clear. But many of them are comparing them to Superman the Motion Picture, as good as the first Captain America movie, which was well regarded by many people, on par with most of the Marvel movies, a refreshing take. These very, very positive reviews. And so, while yes, Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad had similar reviews, but they were kind of just by the fandom, these are actually coming from critics. So I am fingers so crossed that this movie is not only successful, because success is great, but I don't care if a movie's successful at the end of the day. I want it to be good. And I love Batman v Superman, and I love Suicide Squad. They all had great moments. There was issues, but they're fun movies in a lot of ways, and I really like a lot of what they do in these movies. I want this movie to be liked by everyone, and I'm just fucking praying that this is it.
Yeah, you want it to be a critical success.
I do. Mm-hmm. But not only just critical, I want it to be critical, fan, box office, like this needs to happen. Because if this, I don't want to say flops, if this is poorly received critically or limps out at $280 million at the box office worldwide or something like that, which I can't imagine that happening.
No, this movie is
but it could go for it's a woman in a lot of places.
This thing is Wonder Woman is a brand. She's been a brand for a long time.
But China might look at it and be like, nope, it's a woman. Nope.
Historically, even though Wonder Woman is a brand, it doesn't mean her stuff has worked as well as male characters, basically. Because, when they did the DC animated movies, Wonder Woman was one of the early stuff that they did. And if you look at the sales, that was like the lowest in the sales until the market in general started to kind of drop a lot. That was that was the one that they're like, well, maybe we won't be making movies that aren't Batman or Justice League anymore.
Well, I feel like the DC universe, the DC movies, they need their Robert Downey Jr. They need that, person at the helm, that main character. It hasn't been Henry Cavill. I mean, he's had critical response, receptionists a couple of the movies now. Batman, obviously, he's an awesome character. The way he's portrayed right now, I like him better than Christian Bale right now. But being able to have Wonder Woman as the one that just knocks it out of the park, and being the first strong, prominent woman depicted as one of these heroes, if you can beat Marvel to the punch on that, I feel like you can sort of maneuver based on that. And it's a different market, like you mentioned before. Like when they first came out with the first Wonder Woman DC animated movie, it wasn't mainstream. It was just it was comic book fans and little kids that had parents. The nostalgia thing. Now it's billion-dollar box offices. Yeah. So
it's sad that DC may not only get, well, DC's definitely obviously getting one movie out first, but they may get two. I don't know what the time to. No, I guess Ant-Man and Wasp is coming out pretty soon. But Captain Marvel, could Gotham City Sirens beat Captain Marvel to the theater?
Yeah.
But they haven't cast people though. That's the problem. I don't think it
cast
is.
One.
I don't think it's gonna beat it to the theater. But I was just thinking, could they get two female-led movies out before Marvel gets one, which is just embarrassing for Marvel. So,
well, I would say it's embarrassing for Marvel, but it's taken DC a long time to get their shit together for them.
True. I'm just in general.
So,
right.
Just giving DC any kind of win at this point is a good thing in my book.
Yeah, so I am, man, fingers crossed.
I'm just really curious about the merchandising on the aspect of Wonder Woman's boots to see if those go like...
Oh, is that the thing, the Supergirl? I didn't see the ad.
Supergirl did a spot for it, but they really highlighted Wonder Woman's boots.
Yeah,
and I'm like... Yeah, I wonder if you're going to see those in I'm
shoe
store.
No, I'm pretty
like a design.
We just wanted to do something silly to advertise Wonder Woman.
You do realize women love boots, right?
I understand women love boots.
There might be a demand for that.
Those boots are not practical for anyone. That's the problem.
You have to have that real Amazon blood for you to
it was just
different
a very
size.
silly advertisement.
Yeah,
get over it.
Just saying.
So
that's okay. Rafi would buy the boots.
We're all going. So assuming I don't get horrible vertigo, or the theater doesn't lose power, or something crappy happens,
or we get transferred over to Mercado,
or we have to go to Mercado, and I hate my life. The June 6th episode should be our Wonder Woman episode. So we got so many fucking movies. Oh my god. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. There should be soon. And we got a good group of people going. Actually, oh shit, did I ask Bryce? I could ask Bryce if he's coming with us.
Yes. Ask him how many.
Yeah. Toby's not going to be here because I think he's going to see it before we do the review because he's coming back from his vacation. So hope he's going to be back. He's coming back the day after.
Be out anywhere that he's at to see it before we do?
No, I think it actually comes out in the UK and here at the same time, which is unheard of these days. Yeah. Usually UK is like two. I don't think it's out in the UK this week.
I don't know if he'll be able to get over that jet lag.
He's fine. He's done it before. So, Wonder Woman. Fingers fucking crossed.
Please don't fuck this up.
Yeah, please.
Please. Like, this one in Justice League, please don't fuck it up. Please.
Well, Justice League we're getting to.
Justice League. Good thing you brought that up. Let's talk about Justice League for a second. Some really crazy news broke yesterday on Monday. And while I would hope that people would be respectful, clearly that's not always the case. It has been mostly fine, but I have seen a few instances where people were less than respectful about this.
Clint, you want to get a list and just start?
You just made the list. It's terrible. It's like someone going through a tragedy and you have people on Twitter cheering it on. It's really gross.
Zack Snyder announced that he has been at this point. He's not just. It's not like this is happening now. He has now been for a few months. He has stepped away from the Justice League movie as it's wrapping up. I mean, production had already wrapped up, but they're doing post production and reshoots and other stuff. And they kept this very quiet. Joss Whedon has stepped in and is finishing off what needs to be done for the Justice League movie because Zack Snyder's 20-year-old daughter apparently committed suicide back in March. And they've kept this very quiet. There was never they claimed, or let me rephrase that. They said they were not going to actually publicly announce this. They were never going to talk about it. However, maybe it's tough to. If Joss Whedon's directing your movie, it's kind of hard to not.
Yeah. If Joss Whedon pops up on IMDb as something associated with this movie, people are going to go, "What the fuck?"
It's not even that. It's the
people talk.
So I read the full article on this. Like, he said he tried to go back to work and realized that just wasn't going to work.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
stepped away.
He's not in
he
the right
realized
mindset right now.
The minute he was going to step away, it was going to take a narrative, and he wanted to get ahead of that narrative.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, what Charlie just said there. If Joss Whedon announced he stepped down from the Justice League movie and gave no reason, the fucking jerk-off fanboys on the internet would go... Zack Snyder. Yeah, sorry. If they announced Joss Whedon was taking over Justice League and Zack Snyder stepped down from it, that's what I meant to say, the internet would go fucking crazy.
What happened? Oh, that was similar to what Ant-Man had that thing happen?
Well, no. Edgar Wright never even started Ant-Man.
Yeah, but like it's kind of where it's like, oh, I'm stepping away from... But it hadn't started, but people were like, oh, you're going to do it?
This is different.
It's totally different.
This is very, very different.
No, so the people would have been like, yeah, we won, fuck you, Zack Snyder, you left because DC kicked you out. So he announced this to basically, right, like Charlie said, to kind of get ahead of the narrative and so make it so people actually realize what was going on. Yet that still doesn't fucking stop people from being absolute assholes. Now, look, you don't like Zack Snyder. That's fine. I read it, or I wish... I don't have it here in front of me. There was a great article that I read earlier today. I'll see if I can pull it up, and maybe I'll put it on the Facebook group, where there was a movie reviewer who's been extremely harsh on Zack Snyder and the DCU movies. The DC Cinematic Universe movies. He had a piece today where he said, you know what? This news was such a shocking wake-up call because... He was like, I would have been the first guy to celebrate this, but this put it in such a weird context that I realized now that I've been way too harsh on this guy, and he sort of realized that he's led the charge against him for so long that he realized now he's the asshole, right? Like, look, you can dislike stuff, but and God knows we've mouthed off about stuff in the past.
I've been completely like Zack Snyder, God, but like hearing this, it's like I don't wish that on anybody. I mean, that's
yeah.
I don't care if I don't like your work or what you do or whatever, but having that happen to you in your life, that's just.
But it's just the criticism in general from everyone about everything these days comes down to these horrible personal attacks. And while I have been very critical about many things in my entire time, I never look at it. I try not. I should say I try not to look at it past the actual act, or in our case, the art. John Romita Jr. We make fun of. We're not fans of the guy's art, but I'm not like fuck that guy. I wish he would die. No, like that is like never. I would never say anything like that. There are many people that have art styles or music or movies or whatever that are just not my thing, right? And people love them or people hate them. Like, yeah, do whatever. I don't care if you. But like just the anger that people have over just this stupid shit like a movie. Like,
to me,
yeah.
So as of this point, I've read multiple articles now about Walking Dead actors getting death threats over character arcs and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's just...
It's a character, you idiot.
Yeah, what's his face? The actor that plays Eugene said he's gotten a ton of shit. It's like, it's a show.
Mm-hmm.
But these people don't realize that actor, the guy that plays Eugene, he's not supposed to be liked. That's the point of the character.
Right.
But, I mean...
Look at Nick Spencer, on Secret Empire, right? Talk about something a little closer to comics, right? Sure. Obviously, the Zack Snyder thing.
Sure.
Whether you like the guy's writing, whether you disagree with his politics, whether you like what he's done to Captain America, that dude has been right through the fucking coals, and God bless him for like still being on Twitter and not just like not just like leaving comics entirely. Because holy hell,
didn't like Busick like shut off his account for a while?
I know Mark Wade shut down his Twitter account. Yeah. I know Mark Wade was just like, fuck this.
And then we had like all the female creators a few years ago. Like,
there was a bunch.
That got like attacked.
And I mean, even going back a ways to like Superior Spider-Man, when they first announced,
and Dan Slott,
like Dan Slott got tons of hate.
Oh yeah.
Until that book actually came out, and then everybody started sending him love instead.
Dan Slott trolls the hell out of people on the internet. Yeah. I'm not going to say someone deserves it. Look, you can good-natured ribbing back and forth, or you can kind of poke fun at something like that. I mean, like, I'm not going to say you can't criticize people, and you can't have your opinions, but the level of hate these people get is...
Yeah.
And so when something like this happens with Zack Snyder and his family, and people... I mean, I've seen his harshest critics who were like, wow, that is terrible. I would... this has nothing to do with him as a movie, just as a person. It's terrible. And yet you still see so many people that are like, oh, yeah, thank God. Oh, fuck that guy. Like, God, look at yourself in a mirror if you say that to someone.
Over a Batman movie.
It's ridiculous.
Over a Justice League movie.
Yeah.
This person, he lost his daughter in the worst way
in real life.
In real life. And he made a Batman movie you don't like. Well, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you make a Batman movie?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, what have you fucking done to contribute to society?
That's what I was going to say. You know, if anyone thinks... Joss Whedon gets all sorts of weird hate now too from people where people think he's like a misogynist and like he hates women, and it's like, characters have to go through bad things to overcome them. You can't just have a character be happy and win every single time. That's not a story.
We had like 10 years of Smallville. We understand.
I don't even know what that means.
It's like it kept going and going. You're like, God, can't they get together? Can't he fucking get a break?
No, that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. You need characters to go through some sort of emotional or physical
conflict.
Right.
Conflict is what drives stories. It's what drives your TV shows, your movies. I mean, it's all based on conflict.
But if Buffy gets beat up, suddenly Joss Whedon hates women. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah. And so with Snyder, again, you don't like the guy's movie, fine. But do you have to? I can harp on it every goddamn day, and every time. Oh, the Wonder Woman movie's coming out. Well, it better not be a Zack Snyder Justice Batman movie. It's like, fuck off. It's not the same people. Like just. If you don't want to watch it because of something pretty unrelated, then that's fine. But like, this all comes down to the same problem of just people are so angry and so snarky and just hate everything and never want to give something a shot, and they just get so incredibly, I don't think they just hate themselves or where this comes from, but just try not to be an asshole on the internet constantly.
It's actually nice to be nice. I mean, this is an entire industry built around characters that are hopefully relatable to you, whichever one you pick or that you're into, that go through some sort of adversity. They go through their hero's journey. There's peaks and there's valleys, right?
Yeah.
Everybody complains when Superman is all powerful, right?
Yeah.
Or Superboy Prime was, basically
oh, fuck that kid.
Omnipotent, or Franklin Richards, whatever, that they have every power ever and they can just blink and everything's all good. Yeah. Well, those are the characters that get the most heat for that, but then you still have people that they're going to come back and say this person's this person's that. And I know you're going to hear it more and more, especially over the last few years and probably the next couple of years with all the diversity push with the comics and, the Simon Bozes and the Riri, what's her name? Riri Williams and stuff like that people just don't like change. There's a lot of just negativity on the internet in general. You can just sound off. You're pissed off at life or whatever. You blame the world for your problems. And instead of looking in the mirror, you're going to look at Zack Snyder and say, F you to a guy because you don't like his writing, his work. He doesn't even do anything wrong. It's not like people being mad at, at Bill Cosby because of what he did or didn't do, which he probably did, or OJ or something. These people did something horrible. This guy made a Justice League movie. Yeah. He made a Superman movie, a Batman v Superman, whatever. So, I mean, sure, critique his work, but at least for a little while, shut the fuck up about the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm going to be very, very annoyed when the Justice League movie comes out because If it's good, everybody's going to be like, Joss Whedon saved and if it's bad, everybody's going to be like, Zack Snyder ruined.
Yeah.
I hope they're tactful and tasteful the way they credit the film, right? That it does features both, the names appropriately.
Zack Snyder did most of everything on Justice League.
He did 100%. He directed the entire movie. As far as I understand, Joss Whedon
shoots and a couple of additional scenes
the thing
are being done by Joss.
Because we even talked about this a few months ago about there were reshoots going on for Justice League, and we talked about this on the podcast where we were like, it was something that's normal that happens, and it seemed like it was just something to do with I can't remember who it was. But it just seemed like something that
Jason Momoa had to come back and stuff. Yeah,
but the thing is most likely those reshoots were due to things that Joss Whedon brought to the table, and I think this is what people really forget about movie making.
Hold on before you continue. I don't know if you saw that story that was like last week, and that's probably what prompted this, which was Justice League has been remade 3 times. It's like, no, this is probably. This quote-unquote third time from this quote-unquote insider is probably just Joss Whedon doing these additional scenes. Because if you remember in Batman v Superman, the Flash scene with Flash and Captain Boomerang, that was directed by David Ayers.
Yes.
Right? He directed that on the set of Suicide Squad, and they shipped it over sorry. Rephrase that. The scene from Suicide Squad with Flash and Captain Boomerang was shot by Zack Snyder. They shot it on the Batman v Superman set. Yeah. Sorry, I got that backwards. But I mean, this is not unheard of.
Well, the thing is what I think what people fail to realize is movies aren't just made by one person. Like Zack Snyder's like not the only person on this movie. Okay. You have,
I mean, him and his wife are sort of. I mean, they really are the heads of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman.
That's the thing is you have
thousands of people.
You have this top guiding force, the director, right? Who has a cinematographer that they work with to get the look right. Yeah. But where does all this come from? It comes from a screenplay, words on fucking paper that then somebody
he's
reads.
Involved in
and he's involved in at some level, depending on the director, depends on the level of involvement. But it's not just one person doing this. It's not, when he goes to post.
Well, people hate what's his face too. Everyone's, and I don't say I've turned on him too, but oh god. He did the Dark Knight movies. He did the Batman v Superman. And God, why am I blanking the guy's name now?
Huh? The writer?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. David Goyer?
Goyer, yeah. People have really turned on Goyer, too. I don't dislike these people. And, I've said very positive things about Snyder and the movies he's done, especially Man of Steel, I love. But I would like to see different voices on them so they're not all the same. Mm-hmm. My criticism of Snyder has been less on the actual product he's delivered and more just, we've had a few movies with him. It would be nice to get other people involved.
Well, we got different tastes with Cap, like the first Avenger.
They've all been different.
They've all had
the
different.
Russo brothers did 2 and 3.
Yeah, they did 2 and 3, but they were specific. The second one was more of a espionage, spy movie. The third one was more.
If you look at that,
Avengers movie.
You have them now doing 4 movies. You have him doing 2 and 3 plus Cap. Cap 2 and 3 plus Avengers 3 and 4. And again, that might not be great when you have the same team involved with so much of the exact same. You like to see different voices and different takes. The Star Wars movies. The first 3 had different directors, different writers. They all
the same thing with 7 and 8.
Right, but then when you come to episode 1, 2, and 3, written and directed by George Lucas, start to finish, across the board, and it's like, well, maybe that wasn't the best idea.
But you made a really good point about tone. I mean, as kids, everybody looks at these superheroes and are like, wow, wouldn't it be awesome to be Superman? Wouldn't it be awesome to be the Flash? And then you make a Watchmen tone movie about Superman, and even he's bummed about being Superman. Like, who is their audience? Like, why don't they know their audience well enough to know that the stuff in the books is if it sells 1 million copies, there's your storyboard.
Well,
there's your script. Do those things.
That's the problem, if you want to call it the problem. That's exactly what Snyder did. His storyboard and his script was Dark Knight and Watchmen, which were his favorite comics, which are the best-selling comics of all time. Yes. That's exactly why he made them that way. That's his source material.
And the other thing is I mean, the generation that I mean, we're all in our 20s and 30s, and I mean, the amount of kids reading comic books. We know. the amount of kids reading comics is very small compared to the amount of 20-somethings, 30-somethings, 40-somethings. And these people want those, they want darker stories. They want grittier things because they're more adult-ish.
So, to me, this, by definition, is everybody has their particular sort of tone. Not every movie needs to follow the same tone. And trying to lump everybody together, saying everybody wants dark and grittier stories, is just bullshit.
Well, the thing is, it's more of a balance. That's what you're trying to find.
If there was a surefire formula for always making a movie that would make $1 billion, every single movie would make $1 billion.
But I think it's getting a balance because, maybe not all of them, but a lot of people like those darker stories. Just look at top-selling books, Watchmen and, Dark Knight. Those are top-selling stories.
There's a difference between dark and adult and more for an adult nature. If the Superman movie came out and it was like Captain Underpants or something like that, adults wouldn't go see it.
Yeah.
There's enough smartness and enough cleverness in the Lego Batman movie that adults can get a lot out of that movie.
Well, that's the thing is finding the proper balance.
But the Lego Batman movie's not going to have the legs as a traditional Justice League movie or a traditional Batman movie. It did very well for itself, but it is still seen as a kid's thing. The balance is there, and I think you have the Marvel movies have struck mostly a very good balance. Some have been darker than others. I've commented that I think they should have been darker for the last few. I felt they've gone a little too comedic, but you can't argue with their success. The DC movies came off from, again, Snyder's influence was Watchmen and Dark Knight and Ronin and the 80s stuff. Jeff Johns, his influence is a lot of the 70s stuff, the bright, colorful stuff. And then he obviously has worked in the modern day for comics. So he comes at it from a very different point of view, which is my hope for Wonder Woman shows more of that.
The way I always kind of explain Johns, and you're right, he takes heavy influence from sort of the past, but
pre-crisis is like that, just pre-crisis era.
He drives all the way through sort of the history of a character he's working on. Like, my favorite thing about Jeff Johns is it feels like he ingested every piece of information you can possibly get about a character.
He read those,
and then crafts the story around it.
He had those those DC Who's Who books like bound when he was a small child, and he just read them before bed.
Well, but I mean, he takes the best of the Silver Age, the Golden Age, the modern, the dark stuff, the indie stuff, the
and he doesn't really hide from anything of it. Like the good, the bad, it all kind of gets absorbed, and he makes it better for it.
I mean, it's also matching the tone to the character. I mean, in a lot of times, because Wolverine, everyone was like, it's almost there, and then Logan hits, and everyone's like, it finally.
But Logan's not Wolverine at all. No. It's just a really good fucking movie. See, what I find interesting is those early Marvel movies. When you had the Marvel guys heavily involved, you had Bendis and Brubaker and Straczynski and
Quesada was
Quesada's still on the board, but those guys, their influences range all over the place. So while they didn't write or direct the movies, there was involvement from those guys on a creative level, and you see while there's a similar tone to some of the Marvel movies between Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Cap, Thor, Avengers, they really kind of run the gamut. They don't feel like they're all sort of the same. They really do feel like they come at it from different directions, which is where I think the current movies, now that Marvel is no longer involved, and again, like I said, I feel like we now have Kevin Feige, his one take, his one vision, is now directing all the movies in a very linear fashion, whereas I felt the early ones did kind of deviate from each other a little bit, and that's a little concerning. I mean, the movies are still fun and very successful, but with someone with our level of knowledge, we look at these movies different than the average person that goes to the theater.
Well, even beyond that, I kind of feel like, for the most part, when a lot of these movies get made, there's a moment where it's like, couldn't somebody have stopped them from driving off a cliff at this point? And I kind of felt like that's what that committee did. They kind of kept things grounded just enough to make sure that the voice and nature of the character could kind of be put into these different stories.
Yeah. Well, if you have 20 people driving the car, it's they're never gonna. It's just gonna keep going straight, right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. I don't think you want too many people involved.
No, but I think having a good committee that's job isn't to say we want this rewritten as a whole, but being able to identify these are the parts that don't work because of this character, or this is where you've gone too far away from.
You need what Lucas used to have with the canon guy.
Used to.
Well, I don't know if they still have the.
Oh yeah,
sure
they have.
They probably have.
They have a humongous team that deals with the continuity of Star Wars.
For, they have that was known for a long time that you had to go through the department, get cleared through the canon department over Ranch before it was even.
But I mean, but that was only for like the additional stuff. That wasn't for any of like the actual movies. Whatever George Lucas made was canon.
Yeah. But the thing is that's what you kind of need is that group that's saying, hey, this works, this doesn't. You get a script and you're like, this aspect works, this aspect is might
to
need a
me,
little
part
work.
of it is the scope and understanding of what that committee is there for.
Yeah.
I think it's more that Johns says, this is sort of the idea, now write the script, not you wrote this random script, now let me doctor it. I don't think that's what's happening, and I don't think the Marvel guys are doing that. I think the Marvel guys were sitting down with the writers and they said, read these stories, here's our pitch, here's our take on the character, now go. And that's how I understand it worked. But,
well, no, you want the creator and the writers to do their own work. It's guiding them in the right direction. It's
right. But they have that guide before they write it, not after.
And that's the thing is it's being editorial without being micromanaging editorial. It's about being the person that's...
Right, but what I mean is it's the creative people aren't doing they're not... The creative people aren't editorial. The creative people are giving the suggestion and guidance prior to the writing of the script.
Do you think a piece of it could be as well, like in Marvel it seems like time passes a bit much more slowly, right? Versus in DC you're cramming a lot into these movies. You look at Batman v Superman, how many influential story arcs are sort of stuffed in there.
It's like 3 full stories in there.
Three full stories.
Death of Superman.
Dark Side Invasion stuff. Right?
Yeah. Dark
Knight. Weird Lex Luthor stuff. I don't know where they... but then with Wonder Woman, you're looking at... They're basically saying everything from World War I to present, and they're going to be skipping around a lot. Are we looking at another 3-hour movie, or...
No,
I don't think it's...
It's just World War I.
It's just World War I. It's not World War
I don't think it's skipping around. I think it's just giving you the origin of the Wonder Woman that's going to appear in Justice League and that appeared in Batman v Superman.
So Ben Affleck is in it or no?
Don't know.
No.
I think.
I doubt it.
I think it's going to play a lot like the Cap movie, the first Captain America movie, where I think it's going to be like, and here's a story, and then he wakes up, and now he's in the modern day, or some variation on that. Or it starts in the modern day, and she's like, remember back when I was on Themyscira, and it.
She's looking at that JPEG on her phone.
I like the...
You do such a shitty version of that. Please
so
get a good copy of that when we do the Wonder Woman review.
All right, we're gonna move on to some questions here. Oh, to wrap up, don't be a fucking asshole on the internet.
Be nice to each other,
please.
Seriously.
You go see Justice League. Maybe you'll like it now. Now that Joss Whedon's involved, maybe you'll like it.
The longer if the release date budges even an hour, people are going to be all over it. I'm sure they already are. Just saying, they're getting rid of that Zack Snyder stuff. They're putting in more Whedon.
No, right. Snyder said in that article, the Hollywood Reporter article, he was like, it's shipping. I mean, it's that date. It's that November date. It's firm. It's like he's in here to finish this off because we're hitting that date.
Because it ain't going to be
pretty
Christmas.
Much said that they had offered to push it back. He's like, no, just we'll have somebody else come in to do this part of it.
The thing is,
I can't.
Like what I can respect Zack Snyder for is that he stepped away and knew he needed to step away. Like he didn't force himself to he tried to go back and realized he couldn't. And it's not like he's being, this is my baby. He's like, no, Josh, I need you to take care of this. Like it seems like this is more of a mutual kind of thing versus the studio's going, we need you to work now. Oh, well, we're bringing this guy. It seems like more.
It's
what's the way it should be.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna read a couple questions here. We got a few here from our good friend Chris Noyes.
Weren't we supposed to talk about the button?
Oh yeah, the button.
It's the biggest event in comic books in a while since we
haven't talked about it.
This episode's gone way longer than I anticipated.
You jinxed it earlier, asshole.
I did. Shit.
On the phone with his wife going, oh, it's going to be a short episode.
Well, the whole thing. Well, it's not on my list because I was like, well, of course we're going to talk about the button. Fuck yeah, we're going to talk about the button now. Sorry, Chris. We'll talk about your question in a little bit.
Are there any questions relating to the button? So this will segue. The nice Patreon guy that asked about the button.
I don't think so.
All right, sorry. Try it, guys.
No, we're going to talk about the button now. We're going to talk about Flash and Batman and the button. Yeah, wow. How do we end up blabbing about that shit for 50 minutes?
Because we hate internet trolls?
Yeah, Batman and Flash the button. That was really good. Mm-hmm. Sorry, we're going to spoil this, so if you don't want to know about the spoilers, I guess
you should have bought the books last week.
Yeah. Or or the ones we shipped out to all our listeners, because we shipped out a bunch of them to people that pre-ordered them. Hopefully you have them by now. You should.
Or
very soon.
Did Julian's store actually get replaced with copies?
Yeah, let me know. So I'm
Julian, you need to let Ryan know.
So spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2.
There you go.
Everybody dies.
So we talked about Doomsday Clock briefly last week because it had been announced over the weekend. Yeah, so we finally got to finish up the button Batman Flash crossover. For those that didn't get a chance to read it, or if you don't care about spoilers,
or if your store didn't get any copies of 22,
yeah, which apparently some stores didn't. Give you a brief rundown here. This is about Batman and the Flash investigating the button, the smiley face button, the comedian's button from Watchmen that popped up in Rebirth.
After it interacts with the Psycho Pirate mask.
Did I say comedian?
The comedian's button.
Yeah. So he has Batman has Psycho Pirate's mask, which comes from Ian Bane's story arc with that was such a good story.
No, the Crisis connection is just killing me on that.
Well, we don't know what's going on with this. If somehow
Psycho Pirate Crisis.
But we don't know, right? The button reacts some way with Psycho Pirate's mask, who his ability to control. Psycho Pirate has the ability to control emotions of people when he puts the mask on. This leads the Reverse Flash to Professor Zoom, the Reverse Flash, to come and be like, "Oh, I need that
directly out of Flashpoint."
Out of Flashpoint, yeah. So.
Only reason I wanted to state that is he did make an appearance in the New 52 Flash book, but it does not appear to have any connection to...
Right.
Yeah.
He's in Iron Heights right now also.
The regular one.
Eobard Thawne, the post...
The white logo.
So this is the Flashpoint version, right?
Yeah. Flashpoint has the black logo.
Now, the way they kind of describe it, the way I kind of get the feeling they're going about this... Because throughout the course of the events here, they end up traveling briefly to the Flashpoint universe, and they're like, "This is supposed to be gone. This shouldn't be here anymore." But something is holding this universe in place, and as they're there, that tether's cut, and the universe starts disappearing around them, and seemingly that Flashpoint universe is now just gone. It was never a multi. The thing is, let me rephrase that. It was actually not a universe. The way they describe it in the book, it is a piece of their past. So you have this regular DC universe. The Flashpoint, it's described as not an alternate universe. It's described within this book as sort of a segment of time that's actually in their past. So if they travel back, this Flashpoint was still there. By ripping that out in the events of the Superman comic, and with the various mentions in comics the last few weeks, it appears that at least a good chunk of the New 52 is now just completely gone.
Yeah.
As more time has flowed in.
Right. That Flashpoint getting pulled out feels like they have now filled that time. And there was talk of Speedy, of Roy Harper quitting being Speedy, I think a decade ago. They're talking that Batman, or the Superman left after John was born, and that he was gone being Superman for at least a couple of years while the people his black costume adventures still existed.
It's the Superman and Lois stuff that we got,
but without a
counterpart.
New 52 Superman running around in the
So they've really pulled back on the vast majority of the New 52 continuity. Him and Wonder Woman have never been together because he's been married to Lois this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
They've merged. So
No, it never happened at that point.
That's...
Yeah, if you look at that issue of Action Comics where they show the new timeline, what happened during New 52 that didn't happen, happened. None of the Wonder Woman stuff happened. It's just not there, and they showed
that was such a good Tomasi run.
So how I kind of view this, right? And we'll get to the actual rest of the button stuff in a second. But how I kind of actually view this is like you have like a timeline, and say you tie that timeline. It's like a long string, and you kind of like tie it up into a big like knotted bow in the middle, and you sort of like shrink that timeline down. It's all still there. It's just sort of like all compressed into each other. So when they pull out Flashpoint, they pull out the Superman bit, it sort of unravels. It may not look exactly the same as when you took it out, but that time has kind of all come back. And they've sort of... Mostly, right. They've replaced what's happened on that little balled-up button with now this much longer piece of string that looks, again, more like the original piece that you know. It doesn't look exactly the same because you've knotted it up and balled it up and everything like that. But they are pulling back on a good chunk of the New 52 timeline.
I get the impression some of it is still knotted with the way that the book ends.
Did you know? Well, right. We'll get to the end of the book in a second. Did you notice in that Superman timeline, not to jump too far off the button, but Connor
not there.
Was not there in that picture.
But he wasn't depicted. I have a feeling like the characters so far, like Wally West, that have been forgotten. I have a feeling at some point they're going to bring Con-El back, but they didn't show him deliberately because the other three Reign of the Supermen guys, they're all there.
Yeah.
Omitting Con-El doesn't make sense unless it's deliberate and it's a tease, right?
Right. So, although I find there's a lot of cool cosmic implications to the button, the actual story, if you want to say like from a start to finish story, it's this odd middle chapter in this giant Rebirth book.
Are you up to date on the current Superman book? With everything they've done with
just maybe outside this last issue
with the farm, the farm Black guy.
Dawn. No, not Superman. Is it Action then?
Action.
They're
doing the Revenge Squad.
Yes.
With Hank Henshaw and yeah.
And the fact that Henshaw reformed himself into Cyborg Superman.
Right. Yeah. So they're pulling back on everything that they've sort of pulled away from.
So what about Supergirl's father? Is he still Cyborg Superman? I mean, where do they go?
As far as I know,
but
I don't think they've wiped that out yet.
But he actually was never that, and because there's a new creative team, not a new creative team, but a new art team coming. I have a feeling the Supergirl book's going to get a big overhaul pretty soon as they get away from all that. But the one of the other big things in the button, which was kind of a very small throwaway line that I think a lot of people missed. Barry mentions hypertime, which I don't know if you guys remember what hypertime was. This was a post-crisis, I believe.
Wasn't that in Morrison?
It was either Mark Waid or Grant Morrison. They both used it.
I want to say Morrison or Waid.
I think Waid first used it in the Kingdom series, the post-Kingdom Come series. I believe that's where it first appears. But Morrison used it as well.
Yeah.
But did Waid use it when he did that racing one? What was the story? What was that story called?
The racing one where he was racing that small little. I think he might have.
He might have been that one.
The idea of hypertime is the infinite Earths on steroids.
Oh.
By creating hypertime can now never be undone because everything can be shown back to be hypertime. It's sort of like Superboy Prime's continuity punches, just on an even larger, permanent... Once you've created this, you can never uncreate it. So when they got rid of hypertime, it's like, oh, cool, getting rid of hypertime is just part of hypertime. Like, it's all links back to themselves. So Wally mentions, like, the siren call of hypertime, meaning, yeah, baby, hypertime's gonna start coming back. All these weird continuity issues of the New 52 because of Dr. Manhattan or whoever, because I actually don't think it's Dr. Manhattan. This is all part of hypertime. That all these weird glitches that now exist because of the New 52, they can all be easily explained. Be like, well, that was the hypertime version. Now it's gone. Now we're back to normal. The great thing about hypertime is it can completely explain away any problem because time is always constantly in flux. And this is sort of just these weird anomalies that pop up. yeah, this character's dead, but then they're back in this issue. Why? Who knows? Lobo? What happened? Hypertime. Doesn't matter. It's just Lobo again. Don't worry about it. Hypertime did it. Like, that's the genius about Hypertime, is it can explain away bullshit. And while I liked a lot of...
overuse Hypertime.
But that's the thing. Doesn't matter. It's Hypertime. You can use it all you want.
I'm already getting annoyed with him.
While I loved many aspects of the New 52,
move to punch him in the face so he never says that again.
While
It's
I love
the gentle art.
While I love many aspects of the New 52, there was obviously things we didn't like. But if they're like, "Yep, we're kind of done with this. We're going to put it back to the way it is," Hypertime's the way to go, because it's the best way to explain it.
So
it's the DC Band-Aid.
But you just said the Dr. Manhattan thing a second ago. You don't think it's him.
So clearly Dr. Manhattan is involved.
But not pulling the strings necessarily?
That line from Watchmen that's the end of the quote is, he sees the strings, but he is not the one pulling the strings. I mean, I don't have the exact quote. We don't actually have the Flash issue here in front of us, so I'm going to paraphrase.
So the thing that I know, there's one of the, I think, Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, I think it was that book, they were trying to restore the Blue Lanterns, and something cut off Kyle from his connection to the source of the white light, and now all of a sudden he's a Green Lantern again. And he said he was going to bring back, I guess, whatever members of the Blue Lanterns, and something was able to stop him, actually, like cut his tether to life.
Very possible.
So I feel like there's these little things that are dropped as hints throughout sort of the DC landscape, and that included I had a question kind of about the Captain Atom book. Is it at all related? Is there a parallel at all?
That I'm very excited for the final issue of that, because it could be one of the most important comics at DC right now that nobody's reading, or it could be just completely its own thing. But
if this turns out to be Superboy Prime sitting at a fucking desk in an editorial office on some Earth,
we'll talk about Superboy Prime in a minute.
I'm gonna fucking be pissed.
Bring back Adventure Comics,
because Captain Atom, right? Captain Atom is for all intents and purposes who Dr. Manhattan was based on. It was very obviously influenced by Captain Atom. That Captain Atom book is all about time travel and changing history and sort of his like quantum
mechanic physics
dimension like breaking and stuff. They could very easily make that last issue of Captain Atom suddenly a lot more meaningful.
Just a face off, or
just fucking Dr. Manhattan pops up at the very last page or something, just bananas. Like, it's very possible
that nobody's reading.
It's actually pretty good. I like it.
I've enjoyed the whole thing so far.
And so there's been some storyline in there. He's unable to connect to his power or something like that. I skimmed over, I think, one or two of the first issues of it, and it just
time is being like time's weird in the book. Like it's kind of like it's being weirdly compressed or something. So that fingers crossed that Captain. Same too. If you follow any of what they're doing with the Dark. Hawkman, the
Death of Hawkman stuff with
the Dark Matter and the Metal book that Snyder and Capullo are doing. I mean, the Death of Hawkman series, well, not great. Basically, at the very end, it was like, and this continues in Metal.
So looks cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. So,
because doesn't it have something to do with the Black Ivory or what's that plant thing that
the Black Dahlia?
No, it's all about his nth metal stuff.
Oh, yeah, the nth metal. Yeah, that's right.
It was like another multiverse or universe coming to actually invade, as opposed to us going over there. The Earth One guys going over there. It's like the Metalverse or whatever the heck they're calling it.
Yeah, it's sort of the dark. He's calling it the dark multiverse. So you have the way Snyder's describing it is you basically have the 52 and the infinite number of 52, the 52s, and it expands infinitely. But now you have, talk Stranger Things, the Underside, or what was it called?
The Upside Down.
Upside Down, right? Now you have this mirror, evil, dark, infinite universe. It's like, oh, that's actually awesome. So we'll see where they go with that.
Well, you had the last page of the last issue of Multiversity, Grant Morrison, where they said this is the Justice League Incarnate.
Yep.
They also said they made reference to this being Multiverse 1.
Multiverse.
And there's others.
Called Multiverse 2, right?
Yeah.
There's 52 multiverses?
Well,
Omniverse.
It feels like what they're saying is the DC Universe Earth has 52 parallel dimensions. And each of those 52 parallel dimensions have 52 parallel dimensions.
Keep going.
Each of those 52
Keep going. You're going to break this podcast.
52 parallel dimensions. So there's an infinite amount of parallel dimensions connected. That's the way I kind of read how they're getting. It's 52 and infinite. You can have both because it
but
expands
it suggests
out.
that you can only jump to one of the ones directly connected that way.
But then if you can jump to that one, you can jump to those ones, and now it's infinite again. And now you're getting the dark infinite multiverse. So 2 infinite. So that Multiversity 2 could be the dark universe, or the dark multiverse.
Where's Quard? Depending on when, I mean, but like, is there a Quard now still? Oh, there is. Well, there was in New 52 because
So
Sinestro retreated there.
Dark universe, the antimatter multiverse.
Fuck. So I apologize to anybody's head who just splattered against a wall.
Well, you were talking about the if you have the universe,
if we get an email from DC Comics
and the
tomorrow,
antimatter universe and the dark multiverse, it's like a triangle, and then those spin off infinitely in every direction. So yeah. And then you have what's on the other side of the source wall. They split off infinitely until they hit a wall, right?
and then guess what? If all this fucking sucks, hyper time.
Yeah, then hyper time just screws it all up anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Jesus.
So when you hit the source wall, it just inverts back in, and there's your.
I bet everybody was like, they're going to talk about the button, was not expecting this.
Oh, you have to. This is the great thing about comic books, is that we can talk about hyper time in the source wall, and it totally makes sense.
Let me say one thing that hyper time can't fix.
This is like when I was talking about to one of our customers, Kevin Sharp, who's been on the podcast. Me and Kevin Sharp were talking about Twin Peaks earlier.
Oh fuck.
And Brock was like, I don't. Whatever.
You got shovel, box woman, man,
what are any of the words you're
guy,
saying?
They're like, I don't know. You were talking in.
Yeah, and I was like, Brock, remember how we sound to people when we're outside of the store? That's how we sound now. It makes sense to us and no one else.
Twin Peaks talk is worse, but no, I wanted to. So I wanted to say that I did notice something in the button, and that's the change from they screwed up in the coloring of the Flash's suit.
Batman 22 had to have this printing error.
You mean the Reverse Flash?
The Reverse Flash's suit. In that they had the white logo at the end. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then in the beginning of Flash 22, it's black again. I'm like, that's a little.
Because the Flash,
hopefully they fix that in the collection.
They probably will. The Reverse Flash has the gray, has the black.
The Flashpoint one.
He's the diagonal or the adjacent Flash.
There you go.
Just the logo there.
Is he the dark nth metal fucking upside down Flash?
From Quard.
So the
Prime.
Not only does Flashpoint Reverse Flash, yeah, that's right. Come to kick the shit out of Batman. He gets the button and then immediately dies.
No, he disappears.
He says he sees God. I mean, he's obviously gone for quite some time, but he pops back in.
He pops right back up and sees God and then disintegrates.
These guys are the character itself is a paradox, though. I mean, if you look at the recent issues of the Justice League, how many times did everybody die? I mean, if time isn't linear, then his death never matters because it already happened. You know,
well,
he
there's
was in the
already
Speed
another
Force.
Thawne out there.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
was a. What do they call it on Legend?
Time Remnant.
Yeah.
He somehow comes out of the Flashpoint time. Now, do you remember the Legion New 52 series when they launched it? They said, we cannot go back to the 21st century. Like, something is blocking us from going back.
Blocked the future.
So I kind of felt like the Flashpoint, if it's not a parallel dimension, and it is actually like part of their past and history, there's like these barriers on them preventing them from going in or getting out of that. But somehow Reverse Flash gets out. They don't really say how, but
they made it seem like he was released to
he was sent out. Yeah.
The rumors that I've heard people tweeting about with Batman, the idea behind him being confronted with Thomas Wayne and being told, spoiler alert, don't be Batman, and then he doesn't go, that maybe that Flashpoint universe was just a construct meant to guide these heroes down certain paths, like so they won't free that person at the end.
Well, they said, right, the whole idea of Rebirth is that someone's been trying to weaken these characters, right? What a better way to weaken Batman, one of your most powerful characters, not physically but mentally, by making him give up, right?
Well, it's not making him give up. Like, hear the words from his father.
But that's what he does.
And
that's...
The light shines, and Alfred's like, aren't you going to go? And he doesn't.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing is the theme of Batman and his father's approval and that kind of stuff has been a theme in that book forever.
Yeah, forever.
So having his father, somebody that even is a alternate version of his father, but somebody
that is his father.
That's his actual father.
It's not an alternate version. That is his father.
Sure, within the Flashpoint time. Yeah. But so Superman, you can split him in two and make him blue and gold and make him electric and do whatever to depower him because he's a physical entity that's powerful.
Red, blue and gold.
You know what I mean? Doesn't matter.
I'm just clarifying.
But Batman, you can't weaken physically because he's just a man, right? You have to cripple him emotionally. That's how you weaken Batman, and they might have done it, right?
With the only person who probably could.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at the very end, Thomas Wayne's right there. They could have just dragged him on the treadmill. He didn't go.
Right. He pushes Bruce on as he's fighting off. Right. He's fighting off the. Well, so someone asked, like, it seems like kind of lazy writing. Why would the Atlanteans and Amazons just randomly team up to go after Batman right then and there? But like you said, if this was all a ruse, if this was all guided by Dr. Manhattan or whoever, this worked as intended. It was never.
Well, the thing is we never saw those storylines finish out in Flashpoint because Barry.
They were like,
goes
the
back.
world was basically about to just be destroyed at the end, right?
It was coming apart at the seams.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean,
There was a bomb, right?
Yeah.
They completely and totally acknowledged the fact that Reverse Flash remembered being killed. So, I mean, something literally resurrected him in the Flashpoint universe to do this. So, I mean, yeah.
Who are the top suspects, or who people think Mr. Oz is? Ozymandias, or post crisis Lex Luthor? I mean, what are names that are out there right now?
I mean, Ozymandias is one everyone goes to, but I don't know.
Again, if it's Superboy Prime sitting in a fucking
who's
desk.
gathering? See, I don't know that Ozymandias is actually, I don't know that Oz is actually the one weakening these people. I don't get that. He's definitely
collecting people.
He's collecting people, and he's definitely watching and testing. I mean, that could be the Monitor. I mean, he could be the Monitor for all we know. We don't know. I would love it I would love it so much if Superboy Prime was behind this all, if he was the one pulling the strings. But I just don't. I don't think they're going to go that direction.
Well, after
and I mean the way they talk about Dr. Manhattan and he sees how everything's going to play out, so he goes through the motions of that he's supposed to go through to sort of play that out. Yeah, it pretty much leads to it could be anyone. It could be the most underpowered person in the multiverse as long as he's convinced and set things in a way that Dr. Manhattan feels these are the events I have to follow.
Yeah, John said for the Doomsday Clock, which is the book, it's Dr. Manhattan, it's Superman. But again, I don't think it's 6 issues of Superman and Manhattan punching each other. I don't think that's what the book is going to be.
What's that little worm in the DC universe that infects people's brains?
Mr. Mind.
Yeah.
Mr. Mind.
There's supposed to be a fairly small group of characters within Doomsday Clock, so I have a feeling this is going to be not the story people are expecting.
Is it because they have Doomsday captured in the clock from Watchmen's like a big logo? They just lump two things together, or does it mean something else?
Well, the Doomsday Clock is thinking Watchmen, right? It's the countdown to Doomsday. It's we're 2 minutes from Doomsday, 1 minute from Doomsday. But
they physically have a clock as like a big like logo,
right,
Doomsday in a cage,
right. So it's multiple meetings, I assume.
Yeah,
like we're gonna unleash this guy on you again. He's gonna go kill the guy with the blue suit, and then
it's like bull riding. You just gotta wait until they let go.
But
that gate.
Especially that first Batman issue, just that Batman and just Versace just putting the fucking beat down on Batman. That was such a good issue.
Yeah.
We talked about that a little in the whole, that just shows how smart Batman is. Like, to phase, you need to be able to be touching something in solid ground. And so he stabs
in the foot.
And he can't.
I love in the Flash issue when they go to the, how do they call it? Like the
Justice League Lost and Found.
Yeah, however they called it. But you're like, oh, hey, there's Martian Manhunter's costume. Okay, that's not by accident.
Yeah.
Blue Beetle ship, the old school,
the old school Blue Beetle, the bug. So
even though that's been in the Blue Beetle.
Yeah, they use the logo, but I'm very excited to see where they go with this. I feel like this is chapter 2 of 3. We had Rebirth, we have this, and now
in the Flash
Doomsday
22,
Clock.
Jay comes back.
Oh yes, we didn't talk about Jay. Jay
That's
Garrick.
why I'm not convinced it's unknotted.
Well, so Jay Garrick, much like Wally, tries to come back, but Barry doesn't recognize him. They touch, but right when they touch, Jay's zapped away, right?
Yeah, and they talked about that the connection wasn't strong enough, or it wasn't the right lightning rod.
Which I think is kind of what happened to Wally when he was going around to all those other people prior.
He was jumping around trying to find
the
right one.
Person.
So it's like it's almost as if it's almost as if there's a story that we're not seeing where Jay is the Wally jumping around.
And I'm assuming we'll get
in
that.
like a Rebirth book.
We'll get
slower,
that.
a little older.
I'm sure it's going to be another member of the JSA, probably.
Well, so my first idea was Joan, his wife, but that she's not been in any of the books, so that might.
There's that guy. There's the old guy.
Well, it's right. So there's
Captain Thunder.
So hold on. We had 4 people, right, in that Rebirth book that Wally went to. It was
Almost Saturn Girl from the
Saturn Girl, Thunder. Who else? Batman.
Yeah. He went to,
and then he went.
Saturn Girl, did he?
Yeah.
They showed her.
No, Saturn Girl was being like arrested or thrown in like the
that's when she's going to Arkham. But he didn't go to her, did she? Did he?
I thought he did.
I mean, they showed just other characters throughout the course of that. He went to Iris. He went to Batman.
He went to Iris, Batman, Barry, and Thunder.
I think they just showed.
No, they just showed.
Thunder?
Yeah, it's not. His name's not Thunder. What the hell's his
Captain.
name?
Yeah, no.
Thunder.
It's the one that summons the genie.
Yeah. Johnny Thunder.
Johnny Thunder. There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
So the thing is so if Barry awakens Wally, who awakens Jay?
Jade or
That's what I
Alan
said.
Scott?
Right now, it would be Johnny Thunder if I was gonna.
But I don't. The connection to Johnny Thunder, like to me, it's like all right, he's a friend from work.
Fucking A.
So I mean, there's Impulse. Maybe. I mean, he's more connected.
There was connection with that.
He's more connected with
father son stuff with Impulse.
He's more Impulse is more connected with
Mercury,
Max Mercury, but there is a bit of a connection with Jay Garrick. If it's not Wally, or if it's not Barry, and it's not Joan, I don't know who the fuck it would be. The rest of the characters don't seem like there's any connection to. Not on those 2 levels. I just don't see any other character having the same level of connection.
Well, if Alan Scott was around.
Well, sure, Alan Scott I could see, but he's not.
Wasn't
Unless they're bringing in the
who was the original JSA? It's Flash, Jay Garrick.
Yep, Alan Scott.
Dr. Midnight.
Dr. Midnight, yep.
Scott.
Adam, the original Adam. I mean, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman.
Dr. Fate.
Dr. Fate. Spectre. He was in there. Had a few other characters.
Canary.
Yeah, like in the later,
way later,
in the later
yeah.
incarnation. Yeah. But no, yeah. I mean, like I'm trying to think like Sandman. I'm trying to think like real original JSA. I mean, it was every character they had basically.
Steel.
He was in the later version. Yeah, Commander Steel.
Stargirl was
whatever.
Stars
and Stripe. Stars and Stripe.
That was later stuff.
But yeah, all within that same. But no. Star and Stripe was Seven Soldiers of Victory. They weren't in JSA.
Okay.
Stargirl was though.
Well,
the later stuff.
I mean, you're talking. I was talking Golden Age.
Oh,
yeah. The John stuff is different. So the button. Those covers are fucking amazing. That cover of Flash 22 was so good.
The last
the one with Jay Garrick on the cover. Yeah. Oh, so good. Oh, and Jay. Oh, God. I love how they drew him exactly like, what's his name from the show?
Yeah.
He looked exactly like
John Wesley Shipp.
Yeah, John Wesley Shipp. Yeah, plays him on Flash. So, all right, the button. It's good stuff.
Sold like fucking hotcakes.
So many copies.
They shouldn't have priced them differently. Otherwise, you'd have 2 number 1 comics on those 2 months or whatever.
No, they're number one in our hearts.
That's okay. If we had ordered more lenticular covers, they would have been number one anyways.
Yeah.
People, you could have just ordered lenticular covers at that and gotten no regular covers, and people still bought it for the extra $1.
Oh yeah. And we sold so many.
How far into prints are they now? Second, third?
They're not reprinting it.
They're not reprinting them.
No, because the collection's coming out.
Not the lenticular, but
they're doing a huge button collection, lenticular hardcover collection, deluxe in October.
Yeah.
So it's virtually around the corner.
Oh wow!
And I hope to have some news about that hardcover soon. If you like pre-ordering stuff, we're trying to set something up. So I'll leave you with that. Let's move on to some questions. Our good friend Chris Noyes. He left some comments over on our Patreon, which you should go to patreon.com/comic-conspiracy, whereas for as little as $1 a month, you can give us some money for this podcast.
I think he asked Chris to go over there and do this so we can plug this. It sounds so
I did not. But he did text me. He goes, hey, did you see my questions over on the podcast? And on Patreon, I said, I did, and I will read them. So here's his first question. He says, is there a DC equivalent to Tony Stark or Iron Man, a superhero that doesn't hide their identity? Well, that's a movie thing. Tony Stark has been outed occasionally as Iron Man, but until very recently, Tony Stark always was a secret identity.
Yeah.
Iron Man was his bodyguard, quote unquote. So,
John Stewart.
Wally West.
Old Wally West, right?
Guy Gardner.
Pre-Crisis.
Yeah.
Did Guy
never wore a mask.
No, but I mean, some people knew, but John Stewart people knew. I don't know.
No, Guy. Everybody knew Guy.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you? I mean, redheaded.
But he wasn't like a
loudmouth.
public figure.
He didn't go around introducing himself all the time.
Yeah, he wasn't a public figure. John Stewart was ex-military and served public office in some of the comics. I think he was more well known. But no, not too many. There's not too many in DC. They're mostly secret identities that I can't think of too many.
John Constantine is just John Constantine.
Yeah, but
people don't know him.
Zatanna?
Again, they're not. So there's a big difference between we take care of threats that nobody realizes we took care of.
Yeah, people don't realize Zatanna's a superhero. They think she's just a magician, but no one's ever heard of her either, right? I mean, like a few people have, obviously, but it's not like she's,
Aquaman?
But there was never an identity to hide behind. I mean, I guess the Arthur Curry.
He had Arthur Curry
connection,
but then it kind of went away. But
yeah.
I mean, now he's more of a political figure.
Yep.
Yeah, at that point that you're the head of a sovereign nation, what do you do? Yeah, Arthur Curry, and who gives a shit? You're the king of Atlantis, and they call you Aquaman also. That's it.
There is no one like identity. There is no one in DC that I can think of off the top of my head of any sort of real significance, like a Batman character who comes out and says, I am Batman, and takes off his mask in front of everyone and shocks the world. Like that. Does never really happen in DC.
Doesn't get retconned within a few issues.
It would, sure.
And Grayson doesn't count. He was a spy.
Not retconned. It's hyper-timed.
And no one knew who he was anyway.
Okay.
They had unmasked him.
So it's no longer rebooted or rejiggered. It's hyper-timed.
Rejiggered. Thank you, Charlie.
Chris asks, when did the term metahuman first start being used in DC? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was first used during Legends.
Yeah, it was, I think, Legends with Suicide Squad and stuff.
Because they had the metagene bomb. Let me actually look this up real quick. I believe that was in Legends.
It's always been a term I think I've associated with like Amanda Waller.
I'm sorry, not Legends, Invasion. That's what it was, and I should have realized that because I had that crossover in the CW. Would we go? I believe Invasion is that's what I meant. I believe Invasion is when they first used the term metahuman. There may have been other uses of it prior, but I think that's when they first that became like the metagene and the metahumans. That was when that started.
I think with Legends and the Suicide Squad, that's where you kind of got the military and Argus and all them using the term.
Argus wasn't until
No, but I'm saying like down the road, like that's how it ended up being more of a military explanation or a political thing for metahumans and. It's like mutants and
The whole idea of Invasion was that the
it's labeling. It's just labeling.
The whole thing with Invasion was that the
Dominators
were going to drop a metahuman bomb on Earth and be like, cool, we're going to make all these new metahumans and, I don't know, kill them probably. So they're trying to prevent, like the spread of humans and everything. So enslave them and all that normal alien crap. So, there you go. He asks, how did you guys like Powerless and why do you think it failed?
I haven't watched it anymore.
I liked it when it was on. I think it failed because they didn't really seem to have a very clear vision for how the show was going to work.
I thought the first couple episodes,
henchman dates.
I thought the first couple episodes were absolutely atrocious. I think they got some maybe a little better writing, a little more clever, a little funnier. But I kind of feel like the show is doomed to start. It was a good attempt, nice try. Probably would have been a fun 5-minute, YouTube series.
Yeah,
I just don't know that this is. These jokes are just not for regular people.
No, I will say this: the opening was amazing. I love the opening of the show.
The opening was one of the best best openings I've ever seen. It's fucking incredible. But yeah, I feel like so they completely changed the concept.
Yeah.
Before they aired, it was originally supposed to be about a superpowered insurance company dealing with their take on damage control, right?
Yeah.
And that's not. They changed. They did a hard left at some point, and I felt like they got better, but I'm not necessarily sad to see it go.
It was a cool concept.
I would like to see the last few episodes, though.
I assume it'll be on that app or something. They'll get it out there eventually.
I felt like it needed someone, just stick Booster Gold in there. Just to do it.
Something.
Just some payoff.
Well, they had Fire in at least one episode, and she was okay. They got rid of Crimson Fox super fast. They couldn't do anything with that character. But yeah, it was just. I think the jokes just didn't click with most people, and barely with us. So. And his last question, Chris asks, is anyone besides Ryan Scott over in the Geekbox playing Injustice 2? Reviews have been good, especially the single player. Clinton. Are you all over Injustice 2?
I played the hell out of 1. I haven't played 2 yet, but I watched all the cutscenes on YouTube, and I've been catching up with the story because I read all the comics. I read all the digital for Injustice, years 1 through 6, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I'm already caught up to date with Injustice 2, issues 1 through, I guess, 5. So I like the story. I feel like the story that they push in Injustice, and just in the cutscenes alone, would make a better movie than some of the movies I've seen on the silver. Honestly, if you watch the cutscenes front to back, it's basically an hour and a half movie or something like that. If you cut out the little fight sequences,
wow, they got that much in there.
It's a lot of content, yeah. And
they've always been like that.
It's actually
no, like Injustice. I remember playing Injustice, and that thing you can play through that in no time.
They had the different endings depending on the character you were playing and that kind of stuff. So if you stitch all that together, you end up with a lot of content.
This one is way bigger than the first one in terms of all the cutscenes. So if you just watch that, I know it's kind of, you're supposed to play the game.
I'm not going to be able to play it until it's like $20 for everything.
I don't have.
I'm very excited to watch the cutscenes.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's they do a lot in I don't want to say a short amount of time, but there's some cool stuff in there.
I put it on very easy. Walk through the game and watch the cutscenes. I probably don't need to spend $60 to do that again.
No, I just watch the YouTube thing. It's there. Yeah. It's great. It's probably in 4K.
Yeah. I'm very excited to see the story.
Any other questions?
We do have a couple questions.
Because we can't just make it a noise question-a-thon.
We have a few. This is from Dan. He says, any thoughts on the Batman and Bill documentary on Hulu or any desire to watch it? Batman and Bill is about it's a documentary, original documentary on Hulu about Batman and Bill Finger, the
co-creator,
and in a lot of ways the creator of Batman that is severely undercredited in history, although that's changed in recent years, except not legally. But in every way but legally, he's the creator of Batman. I have not seen it. I'm not a Hulu person. I really want to see this though. I might have to jump online and see if I can grab a Hulu sub from someone or get a 30-day trial or something. I really, really want to watch this documentary. I hope it gets some wider release. Have you guys seen it or heard about it?
I haven't heard of it. No.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
I've heard really good things about it. He also said, anyone catch the History Channel's Superheroes Decoded, which I saw the first part of. It's a 4-hour documentary. The first half.
Is it on demand yet?
I don't know. I just TiVo'd it. The first 2 hours is about Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, FF, Cap, kind of the big guys. And the second 2 hours are about a lot of characters you recognize from the Marvel movies, the more second generation, the more roguish characters, the darker characters. I haven't watched the second part. I believe Brad Meltzer produced it.
Sounds about right.
He's in it. Jeff Johns is in it. I mean, Stan Lee's in it. You'll recognize every person on the documentary. But I.
So our homework is a Hulu Batman thing and a History Channel.
Yeah, if you want to.
Thing.
Yeah, I mean, the History Channel is nothing you don't know. The History Channel one. I mean, it's the same.
It's sometimes just fun to watch and kind of refresh your brain.
I've seen like 40 of these things. They're all the same, but they're awesome. Like, I love them. All right. Question from Dominic. This is a tough one. Let's see if we can get this. He says, what's an example of a comic run that built upon an epic predecessor without having to go to the relaunch route?
Brubaker after Bendis.
On
Daredevil.
Yeah. He built on it. I was thinking of all the work that people did after year one on Batman, because after year one, they basically kind of year one and year two, they sort of picked up some of those plots and kept them going. I mean, there's been a ton of great arcs that were just in the middle of runs. I mean, Claremont Bird's X-Men, right? I mean, that just started in the few issues into the relaunch of the title. It was still ongoing, but it wasn't like they hard relaunched with them starting. I mean, the concept of the relaunch is a very recent thing.
Yeah,
this is not typical practice. You have Chuck Austin's X-Men that picked up after Grant Morrison, which shouldn't have happened, but Morrison just built off what had come prior and did his own thing. He didn't relaunch the book; it was just the next issue in the series, right? Every creator has been this way. This is, like I said, this is the a recent trend, not a common thing. So, and it is, every book prior to 2005 built off what the previous people did. So, I mean, in a rare case like Jeff Johns and Green Lantern, they actually did end the series and give it a breather for a little bit. Then Rebirth started up. It wasn't very long.
Yeah, but that was because they were switching the character again. And
right,
all that.
Right. Casey says, "What's your favorite canceled new?"
Wait. What's Casey's user handle now?
I don't know. It's like it's different every time I see him.
No, read it.
I am Casey Bro. Lots of underscores.
Yeah, that's so you know it's Casey.
He says, "What's your favorite canceled New 52 comic?" Well, they're all canceled now, but I assume he means like early underappreciated canceled book, or your favorite book from Ultimate. Or we should do because Ultimate's also canceled. Because I would not pick an Ultimate book. I would only pick a New 52 comic. Let's start with Clinton.
Oh man, there's a few bad ones.
Your favorite though? What's your favorite? Hello, recent Windows Defender.
Are we talking about just how it ended or in general?
No, just as in general.
Green Lantern up to 20.
See, don't go with the ones that kept going.
Detective.
That's what I mean. No, go with the weird, obscure ones that got axed at some point. We're getting to you.
New Guardians.
Okay.
I'll go with the iVampire.
I stole mine.
Swamp Thing.
No, well, I guess Swamp Thing didn't get picked up.
Counts.
Yeah, it didn't really get picked up.
Because it was like it had a strong creative team beginning. Charles Soule picked up and did a really good job, but the end of that book just it didn't feel like it was finished.
Yeah,
like it didn't feel like it had quality time to, like it needed one more arc.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll change my answer so you can have my answer. I'll go with Demon Knights. How about that?
Okay.
That's a good one.
Well, Justice League Dark was going to be my answer if Vampire wasn't. The Justice League Dark line, that entire line of book, were criminally underrated, and
except towards like the Forever Evil stuff, that was when it went
but
off the rails.
I'm disappointed that none of that stuff kind of came over to Rebirth except for Constantine. So
yeah, but it went to a direct-to-video instead.
Yeah, those books are so good. Now Marvel on the Ultimate stuff. I read so little Ultimate past the first 5 or 6 years of the Ultimate Universe stuff. I read pretty much everything, and then I just hard dropped and never picked them back up. Of them, I probably enjoyed Ultimates the most, Volume 1 especially. But I did not stick with any of them, and I have no fondness to go back to them. In fact, there was an article on Bleeding Cool yesterday, where they where they're like, "Oh, are we going to bring back the Ultimate Universe?" And my response was like, "Fuck, please no, just let it be dead forever."
Oh, that's right, because you still have the Thor's hammer from the Ultimate Universe. Is Maker in the main Marvel Universe now?
Yeah, and I don't care if those characters are around, but don't bring back the Ultimate Universe.
Yes.
Because what's his face? Logan's kid is going to be in X-Men Blue. Yeah. So whatever, I don't care that they're here. Just leave them. Don't bring back the Ultimates. I hate.
Well,
that.
I mean, for me, I read a lot of the Spider-Man up until kind of the renumbering, and then I read all the
Which
X-Men
time?
The first time. And like I read the Ultimate stuff, but it's like every time it kept going, it lost me.
Every single book in the Ultimates line had that sort of switch in it, that particular arc or that particular point of the story where it's like, and this is where they kind of ruined it. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate because some of the early Ultimate stuff was amazing and I loved it. Mm-hmm. But it makes it really
stuff was really good.
But it makes it really hard to sit down and be like, I feel like rereading this because there's that turn, there's that arc that's going to
I sold my Ultimate Spider-Man stuff and I'm like, I was gone.
I didn't. I still have it. I still hold out hope that someday
they're not going to finish those hardcovers, Charlie. They're not going to finish them. Accept that.
All I'm missing is the Miles stuff. I have everything else.
They're not going to do it, Charlie.
And I bought the trades for the Miles stuff so I could read it. No, but I mean, I haven't bitten the bullet. But yeah, there's a part of me that looks at the Clone Saga omnibuses and go, I kind of want to buy those. I know how horrible that stuff got, but I kind of want to buy those. So I figure there's probably going to be a point when I'm sitting there going, I remember how bad Ultimates got, but I kind of want to read those.
Well, it's become almost required reading now for the Spider Universe, right? The Clone Saga stuff, because you have Ben Reilly's a thing now again.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first one to admit the Clone Saga stuff, especially some of those covers. When I see them, I do have sort of like a fondness for a lot of the covers and a lot of individual things that happened in it. Just not as a whole.
Whenever we're going back and restocking books from the 90s, I always turn to Brock and I'm like, man, remember when comics were great? And like, even though they were trash, like, remember when these were fun? Yeah. And I look at some stuff on the wall now and I'm like, I can't imagine looking back at this stuff in 20 years and being like, remember that run of Spider-Woman? That was so good.
I already look back on Marvel stuff when I'm doing back issues and it's like, oh God!
It's just a dramatic shift in the last couple of years.
There's like no joy in some of this stuff, like with the covers and stuff like that.
As much as I don't like Rob Liefeld and as much as I'll make fun of the guy's art, there's some energy when I'm looking back at those New Mutants issues.
Oh yeah.
It's not, I mean, I don't love them and I don't want it now, but I know why those things sold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, we got 3 quick ones. Let's do this up real fast. Actually, I already answered this question, but I'll read it just in case. Problematic Cartoon says, are Batman Year 2 and the other early post-crisis Batman stories recently solicited in a hardcover format? Worth taking a look. Yeah, I just talked about that, actually. Very funny. I didn't even see this question first. Yeah, that post-crisis Batman stuff is pretty good. There's really good runs in there. You totally should get that stuff. Indigator asks, is Supergirl's Superman better than Warner Brothers' Superman? Talking like Henry Cavill.
No.
It's different. They are two different.
It sounded like you just cheated on your wife.
It's
different.
They're two different characters.
Different.
They're
oh my God,
gonna be their own thing. I hate his costume. I hate the straps.
Oh, the cape straps.
I hate the straps more than I hate anything in Henry Cavill's costume. I'll tell you that.
Costume for costume,
but
Henry
he does
Cavill's
good.
Is better.
Yeah,
but he does a good job.
I like the Superman and Supergirl more as it's kind of like the fine line. I like the little touches. I like the on the phone with Lois or talking to Perry. I like
you get more Clark apparently.
Yeah, kind of.
Because you don't really get a lot of Clark with him.
Well, but he totally channels sort of
Smallville, like
more
down to earth.
The simpler sort of time of Superman when it was Great Caesar's Ghost and all that like that. That makes me smile every time we kind of get more and more of those nods. Now, mind you, it's because they basically just plucked him out of a lot of those older comic books and put them in there. They're not trying to craft a Superman story with the character. They're trying to take the character from the comics and just plop him in a Supergirl story. So,
but the only problem I have with it is if you look at Jimmy Olsen, you look at Clark Kent, I'm pretty sure Jimmy Olsen kick his ass. Like with or without Kryptonian powers, he's way bigger than him. Just switch it. Make that guy your Jimmy Olsen and make the Jimmy Olsen Superman. I don't mind a black
to
Superman.
Me, I always so this is one of those weird things about Superman for me. Like, I prefer him not being super muscular. I prefer him kind of surprising people with how strong he actually is.
It's the Frank Quietly.
It's sort of like the Christopher Reeve kind of thing. Like he wasn't super muscular, but you totally believed it when he was doing.
It's how he carries himself. When you watch Superman with Christopher Reeves, it's when he's Clark, he looks like kind of Clarky and small, but when he's Superman, he's got this presence and so on and so forth. Frank Quietly drew him the same way in All Star Superman, where the Clark you got was kind of this bumbly.
Yeah, but he was still
he was still bulky, but he still had he's just kind of clunky and stuff. But then when he was Superman, he carried himself more.
But it's the difference between the Christopher Reeve's Superman when he was Clark. You completely understood why people felt that they could try and pick on him. I can't see somebody trying to pick on Henry Cavill. I can't.
No, you can't.
But I feel like between the Supergirl depiction of Superman and Henry Cavill, I kind of wish there was sort of a middle place where you would take pieces of both of that.
Nicolas Cage.
No, that script sounded cool though. It looked weird from the stills that I saw, but that script sounded cool.
Yeah. Next question.
And our final question. Final question's from Brandon. He says, will DC announce an end to Vertigo, their publishing line, or just silently do it and relaunch it in a couple years with the reboots of Preacher, Sandman, and other hits? Doesn't matter what they do, they got to do something. Vertigo, man.
Vertigo line is.
You're my favorite, but boy, howdy, you've had some rough years. I don't necessarily want them to redo well, especially I don't want them to do Preacher with Steve Dillon. And I can't imagine Gaiman's going to sign on for too much more Sandman. Maybe one more, but
I think if they
soon.
keep the Vertigo line as the kind of,
I don't know. I'm just liking Young Animal at this point. I don't.
Well, I mean, but Young Animal is more connected to
which is
the DC
fine with
universe
me.
than
A lot of the stuff that I enjoy from Vertigo and stuff started a little more connected to DC and then kind of shifted.
Well, I think they can keep the line as long as they have something in it.
Yeah, Young Animal is now Vertigo. Just full stop. Vertigo's it's weird creator-owned thing that nobody cares about anymore, unfortunately.
But Young Animal stuff is good.
Yeah, very good, very good. All right, that's going to wrap up this episode. That button crossover caught me off guard. Thank God we talked about it. That was the whole point of this episode.
Yeah, that would have been
hilarious. Well, I wasn't expecting the news to go for almost an hour. Clint.
Yep.
Tell us about your podcast. Where can they find you? Where can they donate money to your Patreon? Where can they follow you on Twitter? Give us all your deets.
So I'm at Clint Cronin on Twitter, Instagram, at Clint Cronin Show on Facebook. It's Clint Cronin Show on any place, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube, all those places.
Fantastic.
And it's a freaking mouthful.
Got a shout out for a sponsor. Can I do that?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Azoth, it's a nootropic, so a supplement for your brain, basically of whey protein or creatine or whatever for your muscles. Your brain's a muscle, so Azoth, seekingazoth.com, coupon code Cronin, get smarter and be faster.
There you go. Nice. Memorize that, huh?
I have to say it a lot.
That's awesome.
I want to say it a lot.
Yeah, of course. Sponsors pay the bills, man.
Yeah, I just drove here from Vegas to help me stay awake. I just got here.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, I knew you were there. I didn't know you just came back, though.
Yeah,
That's funny.
I got here, I slept an hour, then I came over.
All right, there you go.
We need to get a sponsor.
We got sponsors. We got our sponsors at patreon.com/comicconspiracy. For as little as $1 a month, you can sponsor us. We love our sponsors, especially Julian Titus at the Nerds Without Pants podcast at pixelbit.com. Ryan Hess and his Preach podcast at soundcloud.com/Preach podcast. And Ryan, again, you need to make a book about the shit that people...
Seriously, I tell him every time.
Someone left him like a hot dog cooker or something today?
Yeah, like the hot dog cooker, some lady walked in with like some rainbow, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Seriously, he posts these things on...
They're really funny.
On Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, it's really good.
And you're just like, you're sitting there going, this has to be a book. Like, I would read a book of this stuff.
Jody Lawson has canned the Triad Comics anthology at triadcomicsstudio.com. You can check out some of their comics there, as well as our good friends Manoa Place, Sam Che, Talon Bray, and Craig Anderson. Thank you guys all very, very much. Comicspiracypodcast.com, geekbox.net, and iTunes. You can find us there, as well as like Spotify. I know we're on Spotify.
Oh, we're on Spotify?
Yeah, a bunch of different places. So, yeah, Spotify. I'm surprised how many people have told me they've heard us on Spotify. I didn't realize they bought so many podcasts into there. So,
did you guys do the iHeartRadio thing whenever the hosting provider wound up merging with them or whatever?
No, I don't think so.
If you go to, well, I'll tell you later, but yeah, I think you can automatically just push yours to iHeartRadio now.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It's
cool.
Neat.
Yeah, nice. Because that's all the car streaming stuff, right?
Yeah, it has tons of FM sort of radio stations, but it's got podcasts now. So
right. But no, I mean, like, doesn't iHeartRadio?
Oh yeah.
So. That's awesome. I didn't know that. The Comic Conspiracy at geekbox.net. Some long form questions you can send us there, or the contact form. Don't forget about that. On geekbox.net, that is. Patreon.com again, but I already said that. Digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. Lots of good digital sales on there. Make sure you pick up some comics from us. Conspiratobrock.com. That's Brock's blog and video pull list. And
we actually have fucking books on time.
Yeah, it's week 2 in a row of our books getting stuck in LA.
So I'm doing last week's books this week, and I will then be doing this week's books tomorrow night.
Let's hope this is the final time.
Fingers crossed.
I'm less annoyed because it's not the button week this week.
Yeah.
When this stuff happens, they have to go over to what Comics Conspiracy to the online bookstore, right? The digital.
I mean, we are getting our comics tomorrow, so we, fingers crossed, we'll have everything out by 11. I'm going to have a very long day because we're showing up very early. That's actually what I've been texting back and forth.
So if you come to our shop, make sure to call ahead to see if you can score some points with Ryan.
Don't show up at 10:55 because I may still be scrambling to finish up stuff. But
unless you bring him Starbucks.
If you bring me Starbucks, you can show up at any time. Wanderers of the Fourth Dimension. That's Charlie's Doctor Who podcast
tomorrow with Starbucks.
Charlie, I'm like 5 episodes behind. I need to catch up. It's been good. I've heard it's been good.
Yeah, it's been good.
Okay, good. Not Charlie good, like actual good?
Oh, dang.
I've heard it's been actual good, so.
We've been on this podcast too long. He's starting to get snarky with you.
Getting salty. Etsy.com/shop/Leanne Hill Art. That is my wife's Etsy store. Check that out,
What is she working on now?
Nothing. She's working on summer vacation. That's what she's working on.
Sketches for Free Comic Book Day.
She did. Ryan Higgins, that's myself. Brock is Brock Sager. Larson is Bryce Larson. Bryce Larson is
Larson Bryce.
Let me try this one more time. Our good friend Bryce Larson, who's listening to this podcast right now, his name is Larson Bryce on Twitter. There you go. I said that properly. And hopefully he'll be back next week. Toby is Toby XI. Toby's still gone for at least one more week. He should be back on the week after for the Wonder Woman talk. Fingers crossed. He's awake. Insanity and Chaos, that's Charlie. Comics Con Store, that's our store. Geekbox, Comedy Button, Good Job, Rain, I'll Talk Podcast, Manga Machinations.
Have you?
And the Clint Cronin Show.
Yay.
Make sure you check that out, too.
Have you checked out to see if you could get Ryan Higgins to let go of that handle?
I haven't checked in a while. He's an asshole. He's got the frog avatar. I hate that guy. Hey, Ryan Higgins, give me your goddamn Twitter name. One of these days I'll get it.
You look like a real Ryan Higgins, though.
Do I?
Yeah, you could totally do it.
If you get a chance, try and track down the drunk Ryan Higgins on YouTube. They're classic.
It wasn't me. It's some other really drunk person named Ryan Higgins. That's funny stuff.
Like you.
That's awesome.
All right, we're going to wrap up. Thank you, guys. Catch you next week.